TechTalk 3, Swell and Pages for Tactile Diagrams. Presented by Neal McKenzie, Assistive Technology Specialist from Sonoma County Office of Education. Twitter, Neal_AT. Video editing by Karen Tabayoyong, VI Program Student Assistant.
All right, guys, welcome to the SS State VI program's third ever Tech Talk. Really excited to be launching this series, so the YouTube channel should be coming up soon within the next month, hopefully, fingers crossed. And tonight we have Neal McKenzie, who is an AT specialist who supports the VI program at Sonoma County Office of Education. And tonight, Neal, you're going to be talking us through your workflow for how you capture screenshots and turn them into tactile graphics. So hoping you can tell us why you even came up with this idea, why you would want to do that, and then finally how. So Neal, take it away. Thank you.
Sounds good. Like Ting mentioned, I am an assistive technology specialist, but it is a little different in that I work specifically for our VI department in Sonoma County Office of Education. So tonight we'll be talking about Swell and how to use Pages to make a lot of these diagrams, which through the years I've kind of changed how I make diagrams, and I kind of like to do a little bit of everything, but right now I'm finding the Pages works really good for some of this Swell tactile references that we're doing. So first off, I'm sure we're all familiar with what tactile diagrams are, especially when working with blind and low vision students. And on the bottom corner, we have a picture of a hand touching a tactile map with some Braille on it.
Oh, sorry, Neal.
Yeah.
Are you meant to be sharing your screen? Oh, here we go.
Oh, am I not sharing it?
Oh, no, you are. Sorry, that's me. Thank you.
Okay.
Great, and welcome to P.I.A.F. Zuniga. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Chismafe, I'm John.
Oh, is that B Tactile?
Yes.
How you guys doing?
Very good.
Very good.
Working on new changes for the platform, but don't tell anybody.
Oh, well, you're actually part of this presentation, which is kind of funny towards the resources part.
Nice.
Nice, thank you.
We'll let you continue then.
Yeah, so we're talking about tactile diagrams, especially when we're working with blind or low vision students. It's so important as things get so technical these days, and we have so many different ways to reveal information. Still, the tactile diagrams are king, and getting those images under our students' fingers is something that we can't replace. And so we're talking about anything that has a raised surface so that it can be accessed by someone with low vision or who is blind to display or convey non-textual information. And some examples of that are maps, paintings, graphs, and diagrams. All right, so I think this Tech Talk is really great, and I think it's amazing that Ting set this up, because I have found out through years of doing this that stealing people's processes and workflow has been the most beneficial to me and my students. So first, I would tell everyone to steal as much as you can people's workflow, because everyone does it a little different, and they all have really cool tips and tricks on how to do it. We're in a field which we are so fortunate that we can steal, and that it only benefits the students. So if you find someone who's really good at producing large print materials, who's really good with tactile graphics, any of those categories, find out how they do it and try to mimic that as much as you can. I also like this subject too, because there is so many ways to do this. There's not just one standard to do this and one way that everyone's doing it. Everyone kind of has their own workflow. And it's pretty incredible of how different ones are making these amazing materials. I remember when I first started, I had a teacher, this is my first year, and a teacher asked me what my workflow was, and she was really interested. So I was really excited and saying, wow, she's really, taking an in-depth look at what I'm doing. So I noticed she was writing everything down. She asked what programs I use. She asked how I did it. Every step she was asking about. So I found out later why she was doing this. She immediately went to a paraprofessional who was working with a blind student and said, you need to stop the way that you're doing it. Here's how you're going to do it from here on in. And she gave her these boundaries, and it totally ruined her workflow. And it ended up just causing a lot of problems. So there is an importance of seeing what works for you and doing that, but not sending a standard to be, this is how you do it and this is the only way to do it. Because it's gonna depend a lot on what you have access to, what programs you're already using, what technology you have, what embossers, if you have a P.I.A.F machine, there's a lot of different things that come into play. And so that's why I like the picture of the Grinch for this one, because we are able to steal, and it's a great thing to learn other people's process and workflow. So today I'm going to talk mainly about using pages with the Swell paper to create tactile sheets. And is everyone pretty much familiar with what that is, the Swell paper? Or is there anyone that's confused by that term?
It's the same as P.I.A.F, yes?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, pictures in a flash is the machine, and then the Swell is the paper. So it seems like everyone knows what that is and what that process is, what that process does.
Does it use the same paper as the P.I.A.F? Is the same thing, the same idea?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so people find out that I like to use pages, and they always ask, why do you use pages? I don't know if a lot of people are using pages to create Swell tactile sheets, but why I like to do it is because they have a really good library of images that are not detailed at all already in the program. So you can look for a lot of stuff even without going outside the program. You have control of the thicknesses of the outlines, which I like, and it's pretty easy to do. And I think one of my favorite things is the snap feature. It keeps everything for me in line. And if I'm doing a math tactile graph, or if I'm doing a map and I need things to line up perfectly because I want it to be as accurate as possible, especially when we're dealing with concepts like that, it keeps me in line. Also, it's nice because you can add the Braille fonts, and you can label pretty much anything pretty easy. Another thing is that you can use different textures, and I really like incorporating the color too for high contrast, because this isn't just for a blind student. A lot of our low vision students ask for diagrams and graphs. It's just so beneficial and helpful. So even having that high contrast kind of makes it more inclusive for the whole class. And I've really learned that when I'm dealing with a big assignment, I like to ask if this is going to be something that's done in a group or not, because I like it to represent both text and Braille, so that just like all the other students, they could use the materials with everyone around them. And that seems to have made a huge difference in how I produce some of these things. Okay, so I'll show you some of these examples if I can figure out this Zoom thing, which I think I can. Just so some things that I have made. What are you seeing now on the screen? Are you still seeing my desktop?
I think we're seeing your Google slide.
Okay.
Are you trying to stop sharing?
No, I'm trying to share my desktop.
Oh, you have to stop sharing and then reshare your desktop.
Got it. Stop.
That's okay, we'll edit this out.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll do it in post. Okay, I think I got it now. I swear I am a technology specialist. Okay, now you see my desktop?
Yes.
Okay. So here's some examples of just some of the stuff this is just recent stuff. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay. So here's some science work that just happened. And you can see it's labeled, and there's also different textures. And even the water has a different texture, which is a little bit lighter, so you can discern it from the rest of the beaker. This is a game piece I made for Blindfold Twister, which is tactile, and my students can do every part of it except flick it and call out which shape and which foot or arm. So that kind of made me a little upset that they couldn't do all parts of it independently. So with this, they were able to, and I sent this out actually to a bunch of different places so that their kids could also enjoy this. And it's low vision and blind, so it's pretty inclusive. There's my Google Slides I used to teach Google Slides in the Chromevox screen reader. I find that when I'm teaching concepts, even if you weren't naturally think of having a tactile graphic accompany it, I find it very, very helpful for myself and the student. There's some other examples. This is one that I had to do every week, so that's pretty easy. Especially once you make some of these, you can build on them. Yeah, there's one I just got off of the teacher's email, and it came out pretty good just because of the dark lines. Here's some maps that I've been doing in Google Maps, and some other things that I have been creating. So at this point, I want to do a little demo and show you some of the processes on how to actually make something like this. So I'm going to open up Pages. And I'm going to show you some of the settings, but I already have some templates that I use that have these settings on them for P.I.A.F landscape and template. But I'll show you exactly what those are. So we'll just go to a blank document. And the first thing I like to do is make sure that I have my kind of whole canvas ready to go, and I'm not going to be too constrained. So I usually take off the header and the footer and then set my margins 0 or very low, just so I don't have to worry about any of the formatting getting in my way. So I have kind of full control over this whole canvas. So I'm just going to show you some of the basics. Right here we have shapes. And like I said, there's already tons of really simple illustrations in there that you could use, and you can even do a lookup. But it's pretty great. We're going to start here with a box. Now, the first thing I like to do is under Arrange, I like to make sure it stays on the page and that there's no text wrap. So now it's free, and if I have other object, it's not going to mess with it. So the beauty of the P.I.A.F is that under the style, we can keep this a color. We can do no fill, but let's do it yellow. And now with the border, this is what's going to show up since it's black. And we have full control over the thickness of that too. So I usually do two or three is pretty good for simple shapes. And now again, and if I wanted to create another one, it's pretty easy. You can do copy and paste. And see, there's my snap lines too that keep me honest through this whole process. I'm going to show you the same thing with the circle. And again, we want to stay on page, text wrap none. And let's do no fill on this one. And we're going to do the line for the border. And now we could do whatever we wanted with that. And we have two very distinct shapes that would come out beautifully on the P.I.A.F. The next thing that's kind of in line with that, no pun intended, is the line. And that's something you're going to use a lot. And again, before I start, I like to make sure I stay. There's no text. Now, what's nice about this is that, again, you can control the thickness of these lines. And you can also create different textures on these. You can have it dotted. You can have a little bit more space in that. You can have a little bit more space in that. And I use these ones a lot for maps. And again, you get to choose the thickness. And what's great about these ones too is you can put some endpoints on them, and then you have arrows that will point to whatever you need to point to. And you can do that on both sides. You can do none, you can do one on the back, and you can kind of pick and choose how you want them: diamond, square, circle. There's a lot of different things that you could adjust and make a really quick tactile diagram or graphic. Also, if you want to choose something outside, really sky's the limits, and you can everyone see my Google search? Okay.
Yes.
So let's look up puppy. And we'll do images. And what's great here, my internet's so slow today, is if you do a certain amount of settings, play with your settings, you can get really great images that will come right up on that P.I.A.F. So I like to do clip art or line drawing. Sometimes you get some good stuff in clip art. It's a lot more simple, and you can see like this one, the outline is black, so that one will work really good. Same with this, it's very simple. And more than not, line drawing is a really good way to find that and see what would work for your student. So then you can just simply copy your image, and we're right back on here, and paste it. And now we have really sky's the limits to anything that you wanted to add from that search online. So just remember that the settings for clip art and line drawing are really where you're going to find the most helpful for the P.I.A.F. And now a lot of people ask about how to label. And before you can label, you need a Braille font. Now, is that these are free to download, and they're on the resource pages that I have. And Texas School for the Blind has a whole page full of Braille fonts, and one particularly for Swell. For the B Tactile guys, what font size do you use for your Braille for Swell?
We actually, like most of the things we are working on generating, it's mostly for Braille embossers that are the most common here in Colombia.
Got it.
Okay. We haven't really focused too much on text fonts yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so what is nice is that you can get a regular text box. And again, you kind of always want to do the stay on page none, so then it doesn't mess with anything else. But if you're just doing grade 1, you can simply type in your message, which I've just written, type in your message. And then when I highlight that and my Swell Braille font is the first one, it automatically translates it into Braille. And for this one, it's recommended you do 24 size to be closest to the size of actual Braille. And then there you have your Braille label. And you can put that wherever you want and add it to whatever you need to add it to. So it's pretty simple if you're doing grade 1. Now, if you're doing grade 2, that's a little more tricky because you need to know the keyboard combinations, which I don't. I thought of maybe trying to memorize that, but I ain't got no time for that. So what you can even do, which is amazing, is that you could generate the Braille on multiple outside sites and bring it into the text box. And what I mean by that, I had a paraprofessional that just started that's on her way to learning Braille, but she hasn't learned it yet. So if she's doing grade 2 for this process, she uses the Braille translator. BrailleTranslator.org. And so we can write in, this is a test. And then you pick your language. So we'll do UEB code 2. And then we wait for about 20 minutes. Sorry, my internet's real slow. And then there it is. And then there you can copy. And now we can paste it right in. And then there's our grade 2 Braille. And you can even, I've even done, but you got to be careful though, because the Braille translator is not always accurate if you're doing like long pieces of text. So you want to always double check before you go ahead and print this out. Another thing you can also do is you could use, you can do the same process on anything that prints out Nemeth. So the Desmos calculator will work, not the graphing calculator though, the scientific calculator will work for this process if you want to add, if you wanted to add some Nemeth. So let's just do something easy. 45 times 6 minus 3. Then we have our Nemeth. So we can, again, copy and paste both sides of this right into Pages. And then there's our Nemeth right there. So there's a lot of options you can do even if you don't know for sure the code, and then it's easier to take this and then check that code for accuracy after it's on the page. And so that has been super helpful, especially for ones that are learning Braille or don't have real good grasp on Nemeth and are always going to those big yellow books or any other resources that you might need. So on the resources page, I'm going to have this font, and it's a free download of it. And once you install this on your computer, you actually will have it on all your programs. So whether you use Word, whether you use Pages, anything that you have that has a text editor will install that font that can be used. So I just wanted to, I didn't want to fry your guys much, but those are the basics of how to create some of these diagrams. And what's kind of amazing about this is just even with that, there's so much that you can do and so many diagrams that you can make. So now we'll go back. Let me go back to the slideshow. Let me try this. There we go. And you guys can all see the slides now?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was the demo. Here's some pro tips that I have painfully learned throughout the years. This is pro tips, don't fall into the traps. There's pictures of a foot about to fall into a very sharp trap. I think in general, when you're making tactiles, it's really important to reinforce and keep on remembering why you're making it and what's important on the page. I remember when I first started, for months, I was just duplicating the visual counterpart, which wasn't very helpful at all. It looked cool and it was kind of a fun art lesson, but it didn't really do much for my students. So I always have to remind myself when I'm doing these things is what's the purpose of it and what's the goal? What am I trying to have the student have a reference for? Baby powder. Some of the students find that the P.I.A.F is a little rough sometimes. So you can put a little bit of baby powder on it and their fingers kind of slide right over those diagrams. Remember what's great about the P.I.A.F is that it will still, you can still include color. So some people think of using the Swell paper just for black and white, but having that high contrast is really good because we actually have a good number of low vision students requesting diagrams and tactiles for math tests and different things like that. And so the high contrast really helps both populations. For us personally, sometimes you get these streaks and then the streaks will bubble up because then everything that's dark will. So we've found that the transparency setting works best and gets rid of the streaks. So if you have control over, and most printers do, the settings, transparency works really good. My cohort, Leslie Edmonds, who's also on here, she labeled, has a piece of paper that says glossy side down. And trust me, you're gonna do this so many times where you just put it in and realize that you didn't put it in the right way. I know I have. So having a piece of paper that says glossy side down is really helpful. It will save a lot of paper because that paper is also not cheap. Also, it's important to remember that the heat settings are really important to how the graphic will come out. If you go too hot, too fast, it'll start to bubble. And then you kind of lose the whole point of the diagram or graphic. So you really want to start low, and you can always put it in more times and put the heat up a little bit more each time and work your way up from there. Those are all very important lessons that we learned. Oh wait, let me do this too. So here are the resources for a lot of the things I talked about, the downloadable fonts, and even tactile libraries such as Tactile, where you can actually go and search for some of these diagrams, especially ones that students are kind of running into over and over again. So you actually have beautiful tactile diagrams and you didn't really have to do anything except for search for the right term. So all that's there. You have the link and you also have the QR code, which hopefully works.
And real quick, that link is http:// and then it's bit.ly/ and then everything else is all caps. So it's 2UIWR92.
Perfect. Thank you. And I think, yeah, I think that's it. If there are any questions.
So Neal, I was hoping you could take us through how you did that Google Slides screenshot and translated that into, like, did you redraw it in Pages? And can you talk a little bit about what kind of a lesson that supported?
Yeah, so that one, I literally just took a screenshot of the Google slide, like the main page that would open up when you open up the software. And I just recreated it. I kind of took it to its simplest form because it is just a bunch of boxes. And so it took really no time to make boxes, kind of put some high contrast on them, and then put very simple Braille labels on them to complete that whole sheet, which it really didn't take long at all. I kept it really simple. And that lesson was for a student who was starting to do Chromevox, Google Slides. He's a screen reader user, completely blind, and his class was starting to do Google Slide presentations within a group. And he was already starting to feel that sting of, well, you can't do it, so maybe you'll just be in the general area while we talk about this project. And so that was intro lesson on how to navigate. And by that first lesson with that tactile reinforcement, he was confident, and he knew that he could add comments, read comments. He knew what the different spots that everyone else was talking about were, because it's laid out like in Canvas and film strip. And so having that tactile reference really helped him with his navigation of the slides. And he realized that this huge thing that he thought he would have to learn 20 different commands for in one time was actually pretty simple. And he ended up being an equal part of the group. And the class that he was using this with, actually, we taught them all how to do alt text for their images too. So it put him on a level playing field.
Neal, can you show us how you insert a screenshot?
What do you mean insert a screenshot?
Well, you said you were using screenshots to create the diagram.
Oh yeah, I just took a picture, like I had it on my screen and I just took a screenshot, which for me, since I'm on a Mac, it's Command-Shift-4. And I don't know if you can see it. Can you see my mouse moving? Okay, so if I press Shift-Command-4, I get this guy. And then if I click like this, it kind of wraps the area I want, and then I have a screenshot on my desktop. So that's all I did. I just took a picture of it and went off that picture and created from scratch the Google Slides.
Oh, so you're just looking at the screenshot and then recreating it in.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, got it.
Because it was just a series of boxes, so it was easier to just do it from scratch.
How did you discover that Pages worked best for all of this?
I was teaching a student how to use Pages with VoiceOver. So I learned how to use Pages. I stayed away from it for so long. And so in learning how to use Pages, I tried a couple of them and realized it was a lot easier. Because I did use Word, but I found it to be a little bit more clunky and didn't give me as much freedom with the diagrams that I like.
And the QR, the reader works. So I just download.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. You never know if those things actually work.
I know, it does.
Awesome. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
So what was are the B Tactile people still here?
Yeah.
You guys still on?
Yeah.
If you stop your screen share, Neal, then it'll bring you back to the whole like group view.
Oh, got it. Yeah, because it was okay. So you said that you guys were working on some new features for B Tactile.
I've been really slow with that because I've been really busy with many other things. Maybe we can show them a little bit of the.
Oh, I think we lost your audio.
Can you guys hear us now?
Or maybe your microphone is blocked or something. Oh my.
It should be working.
Okay, that's good.
There you go. Yeah.
Perfect. So can we share our screens? So we can give you a very quick demo. It's not polished yet, and we keep on adding new things that are breaking old ones. So can we share our screen? So Neal, maybe you need to stop sharing yours. Yes. So most of the things we have on Tactile right now are very focused on Braille and Bose. Those are the ones that are the most common in Colombia and in other developing countries. So as of now, usually what you will see in here, there we go, is that you get into Tactile and then it's kind of like a Google for finding images, and then you can go and say, we want to find, I don't know, like a lion or something like that, and it's going to search across, and we have 10 different repositories right now from different countries. We have many in waiting for me to upload.
Oh, sorry, I think your audio is kind of muffling in, so I don't know if your microphone is.
It might be the connection. Let's see, maybe if we go here. I think our battery will be about to die. So let's see if this gets it better.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Good. And in any case, I'm also going to try with headphones just to see. So the whole idea is that in here you can come and you can search for a specific topic. You can select what library you want. We also have a bunch of 3D models. And as you can see, all of these elements in here come from Swell paper. Now, the thing is that since we know that many of these things work only on Braille embossers, then we wanted to have something that allow people to convert this into Braille. So the whole idea is that you can go and click onto any of the images that we have in there. And then you have, when you get in there, you see this page. If you click on the link, then it's going to take you into the original repository, because we are not stealing the images. We are just creating like a place so people can find them, because that's kind of like the idea of the site. And the whole idea is that in here, you can come and select out of 3 different formats. We have SIG, BRF, and DXG right now. And then you can convert that image into a Braille image. That is going to generate the SIG image that you can download. And then we have a very simple editor in here. If there is something maybe that you didn't like in here, so the whole idea is that you can edit that and then say download again, and that's going to get you the Braille file that you want. You can also change different parameters, like for instance, say, I want a bigger image, and then regenerate the image and then get it into that format. So that's for all the images that are in there, especially for the ones that are in Swell paper. If you say, no, I want to do that, but with my own images, you can also do it here if you go into the Braille converter. And I don't know if Neal knows the page, so you might have noticed that there's a bunch of hidden links in here that you might not have. So those are the secret access ones that I was talking about. So the whole idea in here is that you can come with any image, and then you can select that image from your browser, from your desktop. Like for instance, let's do something that might not work at all, but, oh yes. So for instance, these are some images that we were looking and scrapping today. So you can scrape that, and then you can go and see and convert them into Braille. And again, use the same things and download them. And once you can download them, you can open them in Duxbury, and that's why we have so many different formats in there, because those are the ones that the different libraries and schools have for working on that. What else? So you can also rotate them in here. There's an option for that. And then if you just regenerate the image, it's going to get you that. Now, like building on what Neal explained, we have been also working on that. And I also have some projects with my students doing that. And basically what we have in here is a custom search engine where you can search for something, and it's going to search on Google, and hopefully it's going to come up with results using some of the parameters similar to what Neal was talking about. So the whole idea is that you get these ones in here, and these are all coming from Google. And then you can select one of those, and if you want to convert that one into Braille, then you can convert that, and then you get your file that you can get into Duxbury right away. So
Wow.
So that's one of the ones that has been there for a while. We haven't made too much noise about it because like we actually want to allow, like when you go to a library in here, like most libraries in Colombia will have a Braille embosser, but then the problem is that they will not let you install anything. So you don't have any access to pages, you don't have access to anything. So you can only use the browser. So our goal, and we need to talk to the people at Google because we haven't figured out how to do it, is that you can go all the way from like your idea to the Braille file to the printer directly from the browser without needing to install anything else. So some of the extra things that MAFE is pushing me to develop, it's for instance, adding the text editing that Neal was talking about in here, having better ways of modifying the images. I also have been experimenting a lot with using machine learning for simplifying images. Like for instance, when you guys were talking, like I keep on thinking on my computer scientist brain on taking the screenshot of the Google Slides and then automatically converting it into something close to what Neal created, and then like having something that you can modify for that. And then finally, the other features we're working on, but they're still on beta, are things for you guys to upload your own photos and your own images. So the whole idea is that we want to create a site where people can share this type of images and also curate them. So you guys could say, this image works for me, doesn't work for me, or this is one that I found and it has been great. And like, for instance, I love the one for the game that you mentioned. And Mafe is doing a quick demo while I'm speaking in here on how to translate the images from Duxbury and everything. So I don't know if that answers that. If you guys have any questions. Also, feedback. We will love any feedback you guys might have. If you guys have been using the site and you would like to see another repository or another feature, just let us know. We are very slowly working on developing them, but it has been up for like almost 4 or 5 years now. So
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And how can people contact you if they have questions or feature requests?
So all the information as of now, I'm working on better ways of doing that. But for the moment, if you guys go into the About page, you can see in there that if you just send an email to btactile@gmail.com. We also have Mafe that is MAFE @btactile.com. And John, I think it's mine. So yeah, send us thing in there. Mafe is always very active on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
So
integrate more libraries.
yes, that's the other thing.
So we have a new library from Romania. Is this one?
Well, that's the other thing, yes. So as of now, we have more than 4,000 images indexed. And we just added a new library with 352 very cool images from Romania. By no means we are trying to establish like a curator like idea. We are looking for the images and trying to see if they are kind of good, and select some of those and just add them to the library, and then have a pointer to the place. So we are actually drawing traffic to the people that are creating these images because we want to give them credit. So that's the whole idea.
So this is a wonderful work from a museum. So the idea is that we need to index more libraries, but we are working on that.
And she looks at me.
Great. This is fantastic. What a treat to have you guys join our Tech Talk today.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This was the best unexpected surprise.
Surprise.
It's all because of Twitter.
Yeah.
I know that's the advantage of social networking.
So I just wanted to backtrack a little bit to be sure we understand what the possible workflows are. So if we're using Be Tactile and we wanted to do it on a Swell paper or a P.I.A.F machine instead of the Braille embosser, could you just find the image here? You would download the image and then just plop it into, let's say, Pages and further be able to edit it there?
Yeah, basically, like for instance, let's say that you like this plane. So this is one from the Romanian library. So you just click on that. And then when you come in here, it's going to take you to the page of the people that created it. In some cases, so in this case, this is like a Wikimedia. I think is the platform. And then in here, they have like different files associated with that. Sometimes they have PDFs, sometimes they have PNGs and things like that. So
in this case, it's only an image in PNG, but you can click on there, and then you can see different sizes, and you choose whatever you want.
So following like Neal's format, like his style, I guess, will be just copying and pasting in Pages, and that's going to get you into his same workflow. I will, like for this PNG, I will actually recommend downloading it because I'm pretty sure that it's going to come with transparency. So that way, if you put it on top of something else, it's not going to have like white borders around the plane. Whereas if you just download it and import it, I guess, that should give you more flexibility.
And if you download a file like that too, and then just plop it into Pages, it'll do the same thing. But like you said,
exactly.
if you download it, it won't have the background on it.
So for other libraries, like for instance, for the 3D models, like it's the same thing, but with, I think, STL files.
No, you can have the STL file.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, what I mean is that we don't have like, and we are not imposing formats. So we go and capture a thumbnail, and then we send people their way. So it will depend on each one of the libraries. Like for instance, for the APH library, you need to log in. So
yeah, for example, you need to go to the library, and then here you need to sign in. Oh my gosh.
Okay, everyone, write this down.
So right now I'm signing into the APH Tactile Graphic Image Library.
Yeah.
And when you log in, then you can search whatever you want in the Tactile here, and then I'm sorry, here, no 3D, just Swell paper. And here, for example, you wanna find something about, for example, this cell plan. You just click inside the image, and you can see here is the link in APH, and you can download the image. It's a PDF, but you can open in Illustrator, and you can do a spatial size or add it anything you want here. So this is the PDF.
So I guess in the workflow, what we are trying to help a little bit with is what Neal showed by doing like manually going into Google Images and finding those images. We just want to be like the search engine such that you guys can go and search on our site, find the image, and then go and find that image into whoever is providing them.
Okay, this is the cell, and you can add it delete whatever information that you need. So the best library that you can find is the library from P.I.A.F. if you need edit information. So that's it. And you was talking about the 3D models.
Yeah, but it's just that people can find that they're
Okay.
too.
The file, the original file. So the original file, this one, for example, you only click on the file, on the image, and you can download all the file.
So nice that there's one place that centralizes searching all the libraries.
Yeah, because I mean, the whole thing is that what we have found is that there's a lot of people like you guys creating these images, and it's very difficult to create them. Like actually, unless you are experimenting and trying with having kids to actually test, the graphics is very difficult. So what we have seen is that many countries have come and say, oh yes, we are going to fix this by creating their repository for tactile graphics. And then every country repeats that. And then between countries, they don't even know that this thing exists. So our goal is just to have a good search engine. I mean, it's not perfect, it's far from it, but it's a good search engine where you can search very easily for the different images, and then just pointing people to there. So it's like a Google Images, but for tactile graphics. Now, what we have found when we talk to people like Neal is that people still want to upload their images. So we have been working on that for a while now, and hopefully, like in sometime soon, we will have an option for that. So that way we can have something for you guys to share those things.
That would be great, huh? A place for you guys to upload the tactile graphics they've made.
Yes.
Really cool.
So maybe we can sign you guys up as beta testers. So
definitely, we're all in. Anybody have any questions for these guys?
What is your Twitter account? What is your name on Twitter?
It's the same.
It's
Oh, this
B-Tactile.
B-Tactile. Okay, thanks.
And Neal, what's yours?
Neal_AT.
Neal spelled N-E-A-L.
Yeah. The right way.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for showing up for the Tech Talk. Thank you so much, Neal, and for Tactile for walking us through all the different workflows. Just really excited for all the options that are out there now. And Neal, I especially appreciate how you were saying that there isn't just one workflow, that there's going to be a different workflow for everybody depending on the technology that's available or what programs people are comfortable with. So I also really appreciate that even in workflows, we benefit from having a range of tools and a toolkit of tools. So, all right, thanks everybody, and have a good night.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.